gospel is found in St. Luke, the 12th chapter. Jesus said, "Do not be afraid, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Sell your possessions and give alms. Make purses for yourselves that do not wear out, an unfailing treasure in heaven, where no thief comes near and no moth destroys. For where your treasure is, there your heart will also be." Be dressed for action. And if you have lamps lit, be like those who are waiting for their master to return from the wedding banquet, so they may open the door for him as soon as he comes and knocks. Blessed are those slaves whom the master finds alert when he comes. Truly, I tell you, he will fasten his belt and have them all sit down to eat, and he will come and serve them. If he comes during the middle of the night or near dawn and finds them so, blessed are those slaves. But know this, if the owner of the house had known at what hour the thief was coming, he would not have let his house be broken into. You also must be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an unexpected hour. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
Please be seated. In Tacoma, our next-door neighbor had her house burglarized. In fact, it was a daytime break-in, and she very nearly walked in on the thief before a watchful neighbor warned her. At first, I'd been calling that neighbor across the street nosy. After that episode, I changed my vocabulary to watchful. I had a car stolen once, a joyride, and then vandalized. My neighbor and I didn't lose much in either of those incidents. She found she was missing several items of personal sentimental value. My little girl lost the cutest Easter basket ever because I forgot and left it in the back seat. But the emotional cost was high. The frustration and anger, the sense of, how dare they? How dare they? People say after a break-in they feel violated. Fear takes up residency. What if it happens again? The house feels dirty. Their personal space intruded upon, all because somebody had the nerve to rummage through their stuff and decide what was valuable enough to take and what wasn't. It's an icky feeling. I suppose the only feeling that would be worse is if they rummaged through all your stuff and decided that nothing was worth taking. Huh? Yeah, that might be worse. Well, I'm hoping that I've set the context for today's parable. Surely you will all agree that this is one of the most unflattering, outrageous images Jesus uses as he calls himself a thief. But know this, if the owner of the house, that's you and me, and here's our house, if the owner of the house had known what hour the thief was coming, we'd not have let our house be broken into. We'd have locked the doors and barred the windows and sit up all night on guard with 911 on speed dial. We'd not willingly allow our homes to be burglarized. And yet, says Jesus, the Son of Man, that's Jesus himself, Savior and Judge, as we say in the Creed, he will come to judge the living and the dead. And so Jesus says, the Son of Man will come. He will come to us. He will come at us. He will come at us unexpectedly like a thief in the night. We live in a society that teaches us to cling to things. And not just to the possessions Jesus refers to early on in this lesson. No, we hold on tight to much more than that. We hold on tight to our ideas, which then evolve into inviolate ideologies. We hold on tight to our opinions, which then in our minds become quasi-facts. We hold on to our attitudes, which morph into relational habits, and you know how difficult bad habits are to break. We hold on to our fears, which metastasize into prejudice or bigotry or sometimes even hatred. And the list goes on. And we hold on tight as a toddler hanging on to her security blanket. Because that's what, in fact, all that stuff is. Together, it becomes the source and substance of our security. Even as we claim in faith that Jesus is our security. And so the Lord comes, a divine thief in the night, to take away from us, to steal away from us any and all of that stuff which keeps us from holding on to God. As Jesus says, look out. Be ready. I'll come unexpectedly. From what I've seen as a pastor, and I bet Pastor Bob would agree, what I've seen as a pastor, that there's no arrival of God without some sort of departure. No grasping of faith without the relinquishing of self, of cherished self. Have you ever noticed that learning anything worth knowing seems to also require unlearning something you thought you knew? Something you thought you knew for sure? And so all our highly valued thought we knew, all of our assumed realities, all of our totally, absolutely true opinions, all of our real and justifiable fears, why, they are all the objects of God's breaking in. He comes to steal them from our hearts. I turned 69 in July, and I find myself feeling a little like Willie Loman. In The Death of a Salesman, Willie laments, I'm feeling kinda temporary. Maybe you know that feeling. Yes. Maybe you know that feeling too. At 16, I felt immortal. An air of possibility, even of invincibility, clung to all my dreams. The world was my oyster, and all of its options were wide open to me. And now, a year shy of 70, I kind of feel temporary. Fewer options are open to me, and those more precarious than ever. And so I hold on tighter and tighter, trying my best to counteract the precarious, trying my best to overturn the temporariness. But with saving hope, this thief in the night comes after me. He comes after me to steal from me this frightful sense of precariousness, and with it, all my illusionary efforts to counterbalance my own mortality. For this heavenly thief speaks one word my heart yearns to hear. Life. Whispering to my heart, I am from everlasting to everlasting. And you, Paul Freese, you belong to me. You belong to me. My life is eternal, and that life I give to you. With divine larceny in his heavenly heart, God robs us of all our own efforts to eliminate our insecurity with faux infinity. But no possessions, no accomplishment, no reputation or achievement, nothing we own nor anything we do will break through our own precarious temporary. But Jesus breaks into our hearts, into our very souls, stealing our lives and giving us his own life. Whether it is pretense or pride, possessions or prejudice, ideology with all their isms or attitudes with all their habits, Jesus takes from us anything and everything we use to keep God at arm's length. Sometimes as a silent, stealthy pickpocket. And sometimes in a bewildering, even brutal mugging. Jesus comes at us. And come he will. There is no notion of prevention in Jesus' parable. This thief in the night will come, ready or not, and you can't stop him. Neither locks nor alarms will prevent him. In fact, Jesus begins this parable by encouraging us to throw the doors wide open in welcome. Do not be afraid, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Here's the thief who takes only our worthless crap and useless junk and leaves in its place the greatest treasure, God's life-giving grace. Amen. If you're comfortable and able, let's rise.